Welcome back to the Dadrepreneurs Podcast. This one is a little different. John and I brought our wives, Bobbi and Andrea, onto the show to talk about what this whole adventure looks like from their side of the table. And because this is Dadrepreneurs, the episode starts exactly how you expect, with our kids fully crashing the podcast. So for the first quarter of the conversation, expect some choppiness. We are bouncing back and forth between trying to ask thoughtful questions, introducing children who wandered onto the porch, helping with snacks, managing interruptions, and pretending like we had any control over the environment. Eventually, the kids take off to go ransack the house, which gives us a little bit more room to actually go deeper. I'm really glad we had this conversation because when people talk about entrepreneurship, they usually talk about founders, risks, equity, cash flow, growth, and screaming overnight success. But what does not get talked about enough is the person at home who is taking the leap with you. Our wives might not technically sit on the cap table, but make no mistake, they are our partners in this. They are our partners in business, partners in the risks, partners in the late night conversations, partners in the are we crazy moments, partners in the wins, and partners in the seasons where nothing feels stable yet. This episode is about that side of the story. We talk about businesses with babies in the house, taking risks when stability would have been easier, building assets while still feeling like you're grinding, what our kids are learning by watching us do things differently, and how much trust it takes inside a marriage to keep walking into the unknown together. More than anything, this episode reminded me how thankful and lucky we are to have women by our sides who have believed in the adventure. Even when the adventure looked like sleep deprivation, spreadsheets, screaming kids, and a sales call happening on the other side of the paper-thin wall. So this is the Dadrepreneurs Podcast Wives Edition, recorded in the Texas Hill Country. And as always, thank you all for being here.
All right, are you guys ready?
Yeah.
Dadrepreneurs, the family edition. That's what we're doing here. I don't know. We were going to do the wives edition, and then the kids seemed to be magnetically connected to the wives, and they all showed up. So we might be doing the family edition right now. Oh, hi. What's your name?
Logan.
Logan. Thanks for joining, Logan. What's your name? What's your name? Oh, and you're 3. What's your name?
Say your name.
What's your name? Yeah. Yell it out.
All right. See you later.
So yeah, we've got the wives and the kids here. How many of us are there? 4, 5. There's 9 of us. Let's go. All right. Dadrepreneurs, the family edition. So we've got Graham's wife.
Mine.
Bobbi.
Yeah.
I was going to say Bob, but I didn't know if she wanted to be introduced that way or not. And then we got JB's wife, Andrea. And today we're going to do our best to talk about what it's like to be a wife of a dadrepreneur. So maybe before we go deeper into that, Bobbi, in our first episode, I had John Mark tell us the story of where he came from, kind of roughly meeting you, starting to have kids, the chubbies in the business story, starting La Matera. What's your perspective on the story? What is the story from your standpoint of you guys meeting, going on this business journey, and then starting to have kids?
We met in San Francisco, and we met on a dating app. And actually, one of the reasons why I swiped right is because
It's because I was a mom.
He worked with,
And I had professional photos.
yeah, he was a model, and yeah, he just looked fun. And I knew all the chubbies guys were fun and fun vibe. So it scored him a first date. And yeah, we had our second date the next day, and third date the next day after that, and the rest is history.
We had five first dates, 5 days in a row.
Look at this family.
Just like fully went for it.
Yeah.
So it worked out. Look at us now.
But yeah, so then Chubby's, he jumped around to a couple other retailers after that, and he just he wasn't happy working for somebody else after Chubby's.
That's shocking to me.
He just
I wasn't happy working for somebody at Chubby's.
Yeah, that's why I said
Good time.
it's shocking that you and Kyle are still friends, and he was our first guest on this podcast.
Exactly right.
so he one day he got to a point where he was like, you know what? I want to buy a business. And then like a week later, he was like, I found a business I want to buy.
A week later, I love that.
It was literally like it was one of those perfect timing things where I left Tuckernuck first week of March, and Mama Tara popped up on a business brokerage site less than 3 weeks later. It was just like, and I had not seen any cool business worth buying before that.
Yeah.
Hey, you gotta be quiet because we're trying to do a podcast, dude. I hadn't seen any cool business to buy before that or after that since, honestly. It was just this perfect brand that like kind of just worked well.
Yeah.
So,
So he
did
was
you guys
like-
have kids? You guys had kids when you bought Mama Tara?
We
No.
did. We have Millie?
Oh yeah, we did. Yeah,
We
we had a
did.
7-month-old or
Yeah.
6-month-old.
Yeah. We did. Yeah. So we had a baby, and he was like,
Let's
"Can I
a
buy
business.
this?"
Can I
and
buy
I was
this?
like, "What are you talking about?" Then he convinced me that buying a business was easier than starting something new, and I was like, "Okay." And he convinced me we could do it, and we did it. And yeah, the rest is history. Now he's just an entrepreneur and has a bunch of different ideas at any given time. So.
In pure Dadrepreneur fashion, you have a new baby and you decide you're going to buy a business. What, as the wife and a brand new mom, right?
Yeah.
What was going through your mind?
Instability.
Instability.
Yeah. And I was like, how are we going to do this? How are we going to support our family? But again, he convinced me that this was a solid path forward. We could do this. After we bought the business, I departed from my job too, to just kind of help things get up and running. So that was a journey as well.
Okay, so I want to stop here really quick and I want you to tell your story of me convincing you to start a couple of businesses. And then we're going to probably end up going back and forth here. So
Okay.
how do we meet and how convincing was I?
We met back in 2012. John didn't have a job. He was an unemployed,
No, I was employed.
I guess a little
Yeah, I was
bit.
employed by a touring thrash metal band.
Yes.
Like-
Yeah. He was in thrash
This is
metal
her
band.
perspective,
Yeah.
John. Don't.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you can't.
To her, you were
I was paying my
unemployed.
rent.
Yeah.
I had food on the table.
Yeah.
You were
3 square meals.
unemployed.
Yeah.
I didn't ask you to pay for anything on our dates.
True, but you can't cut in. This is my
Okay. So
story.
anyways, I was employed by a thrash metal band.
I remember bringing John Blair home to meet my mom, and I was like, this is John, and he doesn't have a job right now, but he's in this like heavy metal band touring. But I promise you, he has an accounting degree and he's a really smart guy. And she was like, okay.
Okay.
So that's kind of how it started. I just knew what I liked about him was that he was different.
To say the least.
Yeah,
Like,
from
yeah,
the very
same.
beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah. He didn't do things the way that anybody else did things or like the way that they should be doing things. John just kind of, he did things in his own way.
However the hell I want to.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that I can relate to.
Yes.
for
Yeah.
sure.
After your stint with the band, then you got hired on for West Coast Chill, right?
Another startup.
Another
Yeah.
startup company. So that was like, other than Guardian, that was like the first startup company that he worked for. And then after that, he started working for CSI.
For your uncle's company.
Yes,
That's what
so it
moved
was-
us to Austin the
Yes,
first
so
time.
it was my uncle's company. We were at a family party in Orange County, California, and my uncle owned a company and got to talking to John. I think by the end of the party, John was like,
I think we're moving to Austin.
yeah,
Let's
I
go
think
on
we're
together.
moving to Austin. And I was like, what? And that was the beginning of me realizing that,
I don't know where we're going to end up.
yeah, being with him was always going to be an adventure.
Okay, so I want to fast forward now to you said that it was an adventure, or you realized you were going to be on an adventure.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about Guardian. because I had been moonlighting for Guardian for a number of the first years we were together, working full-time elsewhere, always going like every few months, like, I think we're going to raise enough money that I can quit my full-time job and actually like work there full-time. And then we finally got the call, and I had to convince you because I was going to take a pay cut. The company was far from being profitable, and most of my compensation was going to be in equity. What were you thinking when I was trying to convince you to let me go full time with Guardian Bikes?
Yeah, stability definitely was something that I considered. And at that time, we weren't married yet, but I knew that was the road that we were on. And I knew that I wanted to have a family. That was something that was really important to me. I remember thinking, like, how is this going to align with kind of like the next season of life that we're going to be in? But at the same time, it was the way that it happened was a blessing because we didn't have kids at the time.
Yeah.
We didn't have a family. We're always probably there's going to be a level of taking risks for the rest of our lives just because of his spirit. At that point in time, it didn't feel as scary. It was like, yeah, let's do this now.
You know what I've realized though? Maybe this is just the entrepreneur in me, and I definitely want to get your opinion on this. I actually think it's riskier to work for someone else, even if it appears their business is like big and profitable and stable. Maybe this is also my perspective being a finance guy. When I was part-time at Guardian and full-time at these other businesses that appeared to be big and profitable and stable, I was the CFO, and I was like, all these businesses were not doing that well. And they were like hiding. They were trying to figure out how to keep it going. In fact, CSI eventually went under. That's part of how we ended up back in California trying to make Guardian work. And a number of these other companies I was working for were not doing well. And I was like, man, I have no control. I mean, I'm the head of finance, so like I can help try to guide where they should go, but these owners were doing whatever they wanted, and most of those businesses ended up failing. And I finally got to the point where I was like, I just want to control the risk and the stability, even though it might be harder. I don't want to rely on anybody else.
I think, but I do think I agree with you. I'm right there with you, but I think that you are a different type of thinker like me. Most people would be like, I don't want to take on the risk of running a company, and I would rather work for a company that might go down, and I'll just go find another job or whatever. I would do the same exact thing. I would go and just be like, these people running this company are a bunch of idiots. And
I would never work for anyone ever again.
Yes.
No, seriously. Like if my businesses failed, crash, burn, blew up, I would even at the very least be a freelance consultant. I will never work for anyone ever again.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree. I think I go back and forth on that. Whenever I think about working for somebody, I could be persuaded to go be on like a C-suite of like a dope company that I really truly believe in. And obviously if you do that, you work for a private equity company or you work for like the board. So I could potentially do that, but it's not going to be, I'm going to go be the director of friggin' whatever and such company. Like that's not, I'm also just it's interesting. We're going on a tangent here. So Bob works in kind of financial internal audit and risk audit. And I hear some of her conversations that she has, and she works for a very corporate company. I hear some of them, and I'm like, dude, I could not survive in that. I literally could not survive. I would go crazy. I don't have the like composure to be able to handle some of the politics and some of the like, know, like slowness and all that. I just couldn't do it. I couldn't do it all.
Okay. So I want to fast forward now. You guys bought La Matera. You have a baby. You're figuring out how to be first-time business buyers and first-time parents. Let's get real. What was some of the chaos that happened?
Oh gosh. I mean, the month that we were buying the business, it was like, that is all that he was doing.
I
So-
luckily didn't have a full-time job or anything. I
Yeah.
already departed my last job. And so honestly, that's how the business got purchased so quickly is I just focused on it like it was my full-time job. And so that was the only thing that I was just maniacally focused on acquiring this company.
But yeah, I went from that. It was like his number one focus. And once we bought it, it was like, okay, let's just change everything to make this thing more profitable. One of the first things that we did was bring all of our fulfillment in-house and bring it out here. Then at the same time, I departed from my job and then I helped with all of that. But it was like in the matter of 2-3 months, everything just changed completely. I no longer was working for a corporate company. I was now working for ourselves. And like, I think during that time, it's like you're working extra hard because you know that this is yours and you're trying to like move the needle in any way you can. But also, like having the baby is, I mean, you're not really sleeping and you're just trying to figure that out too.
And we'd also just put all of our savings into buying this company. All of
Yeah.
our we
So
just
it was
like
stressful.
No big
we
deal.
weren't paying ourselves because
Yeah.
we were putting it back in the company and like just for growth.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a weird
And
time.
then it was a lot of you convincing me like, okay, all of these changes are going to mean something. It doesn't mean something right now, but it will. And so
She's
just
laughing
have a-
because of the nose.
it's just like a lot of trust. And then, at first, at that point, I was very resistant at first, but now I'm just kind of like open to all of the suggestions. I don't know. I feel like at this point, I'm just kind of letting him be on his creative journey.
Yeah.
But at the first time,
I think one of those things, it's shocking whenever you first do it because you've been in this zone of just being in a company. It's super comfy and all that. But then, I'm curious how like y'all think about this is then when you're in, so like Bob left her last corporate company where she was getting paid really well and like our stability like literally went out the window. And then you get in, you're like, oh, we're fine.
yeah,
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of.
there is that.
I was just talking with a good friend who just started his own landscaping business. He's been in landscaping like kind of as a senior manager for someone else's big business for a long time. And he came to me and was like, dude, I've been telling him to go out on his own for a long time. And he finally was ready to do it. And I was like, dude, what are you the most afraid of? And he started just going off on all of this stuff. And I was like, dude, literally none of that stuff is going to happen.
Yeah.
Like, this is not going to go perfect. Let me be clear about that. But the worst case scenario in your head is not going to happen.
Yeah.
And that is such an either empowering or debilitating. Like what you believe about the worst case scenario is either empowering or debilitating.
Yeah.
But there's something that you mentioned that I want to ask you about, and you were laughing, which is this concept of just having faith.
Yeah.
Because that I believe is one of the defining factors between entrepreneurs or creatives of anything is just having faith. I mean, I'm a productivity junkie and I watch all these like short content videos. She laughs at me. But like I saw one the other day of Kobe Bryant being interviewed. I was asking why he's so successful. And he's like, because I get up at 4:00 in the morning when all of the other guys in the NBA are getting up at 10:00 in the morning. And that extra 6 hours, I'm just putting in the reps. And what matters about that, how does that tie back to faith? He had the conviction that spending an extra 6 hours putting in the reps was actually going to turn into something. Not right then and there, but later on when he was on the court. Talk about the faith that you have had or not have in the things that I have convinced you, and even some of the fears that you've had, because I've convinced you to go to Guardian, then start Free to Grow CFO, then start a real estate business, then scale that to 22 doors. Like, where does faith come in?
I think that when you were talking, like the word that kept coming to mind was fear. And I think that for me, like my level of risk, I think that I would side more on the fear side of things because that's just how I am.
Yeah.
But I've definitely over the years just gotten used to taking more risks. And I think it's been beneficial to me that we've had to take so many risks. So now I know that like we're always going to be okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, like even during like the scariest leaps of faith that we've had to take, it's never been bad, honestly.
Yeah.
It really hasn't. We've had to make scary decisions, but it's never gotten bad.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, I can
and
relate to that.
Ryan Rouse, my buddy, always says the battle in between your two ears is the one you're actually fighting as an entrepreneur. You think you're fighting all these real battles. It's the battle in your head.
Totally.
Mhm.
And
It's easy to look at and ask the question, you know, what could go wrong in this thing? But then I'm just like a eternal optimist. And I always am like, well, like what could go wrong? What could go right? And
You
it
know
could
what's
be
funny?
1,000 more things that goes right.
I am not
You know.
super optimistic, or I feel like you're probably more optimistic than I am. I'm not absent optimism.
One thing I think you're talking about fear.
Yeah,
and-
fear and risk and optimism.
Yeah. So one thing that breaking away from the corporate life that was really refreshing for me, I always had it in my mind that I was going to work for a corporation. I don't know why. Like work in finance because that's where the money is, and then work my way up the ladder. And for pretty much my whole career, I just had it in my mind that, you know, I never wanted to get out of that. And then it became this thing where I felt like I needed my job. Like it like owned me. And so when we bought this company and I took a leap, it was super refreshing because it did show me that, okay, we can do this. And it was scary. There was like a lot of fear there for sure. But then after that, I think that kind of like set the stage for all of these other ideas that he's running on. Because it's like, you know, at the end of the day, we're going to be fine. And you kind of play through the worst case, or he does a good job at playing through the worst case scenarios. And like, well, what if this happens? Well, then we'll just do this. And then it's, you know,
There's always an
convincing and
answer.
trust.
Just
Yeah.
how creative can you get?
Yeah.
You know?
A
Well,
lot of
okay.
trust.
So what's the scary, or maybe not the scariest thing I've ever tried to convince you to do, but was there ever a time when I had a crazy idea and you're like, this is not working? I know that there's several times when you've been like, this isn't working. Should we go back? Or John, you're going too hard right now.
The first thing that comes to mind is our real estate business.
I knew she was going to say this.
Yeah. We started investing in real estate less than 2 years ago.
Yeah, less than 2 years ago.
We now have 22 doors that we are in charge of. And
All residential.
yes.
Well, small multi, yeah.
Yeah,
You
so-
single and small,
Multifamily,
single
yeah.
family.
So
small
not just
multifamily.
like doors, but like
22
people.
people.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like families.
12 properties, 22 units.
Yes. And I mean, that's just kind of how John Blair is. You know, he gets really excited about something and he doesn't go from 0 to 10. He goes from 0 to like 1,000.
Man,
And
it's
this
crazy
is
that we're
all,
friends.
yeah, this is all while still running Free to Grow CFO and having 3 kids. So it was like any extra time was going to the real estate business. And it was fun and exciting, but there definitely had to be conversations of me being like, we need to take a few steps back. We don't need to shut it down completely, but we need to take a few steps back. So yeah, we've had to have conversations like that for sure.
I'm curious to get both your perspectives. Maybe we can start with Bobbi. What is your viewpoint? And I'm sure this has changed over time, but from buying La Matera to where you guys are at today and now have 2 kids, what has been your perspective on, like, I don't want to say ability, but what John has done to try to balance himself between being a dad, being a husband, and being an entrepreneur?
Well, I think what he does well is that I think that he definitely has his times with the kids, and like he takes the mornings and then the nights. And so I was like, what do I do? But he
That was gonna be my next question.
yeah.
So much.
He lets me get up, do my workout in the morning. He gets the girls up, does the breakfast, and that's like his time with them. And yeah, there are times where he is writing emails or working through something, but he does a really good job at just like focusing on them during that time. And
Now you can tell me what you really think since he walked away. Yeah.
yeah, I think he does a really good job at just like having his dedicated time with them and not like letting the two mix. But then again, we're talking about the business all the time, even at dinner. And sometimes when we're at dinner, he's like, working on his phone, dealing with things, but he's always present for them. So I think that's, I don't know. He's just such a good dad. I feel like I'm very lucky. He hasn't really let running a business or any of these ideas get in the way of him contributing and being there for his family.
One thing that one of the reasons we started this podcast is I think parenting and entrepreneurship is full of all these misconceptions.
Yeah.
And so much of the content out there does not focus on the reality. It focuses on the white picket fence success stories. What comes to mind for you when I ask, what do you think is a common misconception about raising a family and running a business from home together that you think people probably would be surprised about?
I mean, I feel like a misconception is probably that you don't have enough time for either. And I feel like you just kind of make it work no matter what. So you just either, you build out the time for your family, you build the time for your business. And there are times when he's on the weekends, just working on his computer, but he's still able to be present with the kids when they're like, hey, Dad, come watch this. Or he's like, Dad, come do this with me. He's always down and just go sit with them and play and just make it happen. There's never a time where I feel like it gets in the way.
The amount of times I'm sitting in the playroom with my computer on my lap with
Stuff,
I don't know,
random objects,
crowns
on you.
and there's all around me.
Princess dresses.
Multitasking, that's what I'm good at multitasking wise, is being a princess and on my computer cranking through a spreadsheet at the same time.
Yeah, and I say doing it all on a few hours of sleep is really hard.
I honestly don't know how we do that.
Yeah.
We got destroyed this week, and just last night got a recovery night sort of.
Isn't it whenever you wake up after a good
fantastic.
night where you sleep all the way through,
Oh, you
and
feel
you're
like
just
a new person.
and you think it's 1 a.m, but you look and it's 6.
Yeah,
and you're like,
We made it
holy
Dude.
crap!
a full night.
I'm gonna get something done today.
I'm gonna murder the world today.
Here we go.
Isn't that such a crazy feeling? Whenever we have 1 through 7-year-olds, we're not sleeping, but what I'm mostly interested in is how you survive that first 3 to 6 months. So we would wake up and change them, and I would tag team. I would go get the baby, change it, or she would sleep in the bassinet beside me. It's been a year and I've put it back. She was sleeping in the bassinet beside me. I would grab her when she's upset.
She's just in the bed. She's driving the truck.
Yeah, she's
to
in
the
the
grocery
yard.
store.
She's in the yard with the donkeys. The donkeys call me.
Yeah.
I would change her, and then I would hand her off to Bob. Bob would feed her, and then I'd put her back up. But I still just don't understand how.
You made it?
How do people make it?
Okay, so I gotta ask you to tell your side of the story. So let's see. I started Free to Grow CFO February 2021.
Mm-hmm.
Logan was born a year and a half after I started the business.
9 months.
Oh, he was born. Okay, got it. So this was 2022. Yes,
Yeah.
you're right.
Mhm.
So no, when you have
what
three,
is math?
Yeah.
I think I turned
My
39
math is not
a month
mathing.
ago. I'm pretty sure. For my Free to Grow was scaling. I was a freelancer at that point and starting to hire a few people.
Mhm.
Logan was born. We had a newborn, an 18-month-old, and a 3.5-year-old in our small place in South Austin. I'm taking client calls in this tiny little house. What was that like for you? What do you remember from that? Because I just remember all out insanity.
Yeah, I mean, we were just getting annihilated every single day. We had 3-bedroom, 1,500 square foot home. John's office was in our master bedroom, right on the other side of the wall from our living space, which was also our playroom, like the only room in the house that we were in during the day.
And it's those old Austin houses, so paper thin
Oh,
walls.
yes. Yeah. I was home with the kids full time, and he was trying to start Free to Grow full time from the same house. And I just remember, I mean, every single day. I mean, he would have these important calls, and there would just be kids just screaming.
All three of them
Just
crying at
constantly.
the same
Yeah.
time.
Yeah. And it would only happen like right as he was getting
Yeah,
onto
yeah,
a call.
for sure.
I was like,
Definitely.
the timing of this is awful.
It was intense. I would
It was
open the door
intense.
and you would be staying there like crying sometimes.
Yeah.
And because
Mhm.
and like the baby's screaming, Noah, who's 1.5, is screaming, Emma's screaming.
Somebody just peed
And-
their pants.
No,
like,
and I'm running to
Yeah.
grab some water, and I'm like, hey, I'm sorry, I have to lock the door. I have a sales call in like 1 minute, and like I'm trying to close this deal. In hindsight, because in the middle of it, we're literally just like battling out. Like, are you good? Are you good? No, I'm not good. I'm not really good either. I'm gonna try to close this deal. I'll be right back.
yeah.
No, it's serious.
Yeah.
And it's okay if you can't get them to be quiet, but like if they could be quiet-ish, that would be cool.
Mhm.
You know, and like in hindsight, thinking about this, recalling this, it's like, did you think that I was just like, how did you feel when I was like, hey, I need you to just try to control it. I understand if you can't, I'll mute as much as I can. I'm trying to get this deal done. You're dealing with all out insanity. Like, how did that feel?
I mean, in the moment, I was frustrated, I think, but I did it day after day because I knew that it was going to be worth it. Like, I never
Yeah.
questioned, was this going to be successful or not? Like, I just knew that we were building something for the future of our family. I knew it was going to work.
Yeah.
So, as frustrating as it was at times, and it was, I knew that it was going to be worth it.
Yeah, I totally agree.
I can't even recall the number of times that when the workday got done and we got all the kids down and we had that moment of silence where you and I would say some version of like, why did we do all of this at the exact same time? Intuitively, in hindsight, it's like, yeah, you have 3 kids under the age of 4 and start a business at the same time. This is going to be crazy. But we didn't think about that. I remember when we decided we wanted to get pregnant with the third, it was like, bring it on. Let's
Mhm.
do it. No concept of like, are we going to make it out alive? We just
And
did
when
it.
we decided to get pregnant with Logan, I mean, we were not bringing in any income.
Yeah.
He had just started.
I mean, a few $1,000s a month. It was
No,
like,
I think
It
your
was-
first client was
$2,500 a month.
$2,500.
yeah. So I was bringing
Yeah.
2,500.
Yeah.
Our mortgage was
We
$1,750.
didn't have health
So we had a
insurance.
little
Yeah.
bit.
Yeah, we
It's hard
didn't have
on it.
health insurance
Yeah,
anymore
that's
because
hard.
and we were just like, let's just do it. Yeah.
And actually, candidly, I'll tell this story. I sat down with Andrea and I was like, we have 6 months of runway.
Mm-hmm.
I sat down and we did a budget. We still have a budget. We've always had a budget. I'm a finance guy. We said, look at the spreadsheet. And I looked at what is like minimum living expenses, not no
No
frills,
vacations.
just like food on the table,
pay the
utilities
bills.
paid, gas in the car, families alive, right? It was $6,000 a month. This was back in 3% interest rates
Yeah,
and
yeah.
much lower property taxes.
We were
before-
living like lean.
but
Yeah,
I had
totally.
I think we had $40,000 that I had set aside. So it was like
Mhm.
just over 6 months of runway.
Yeah.
But I was like, hey, listen, I've got one client, 2,500. If I keep that client, we have more than 6 months of runway. So we have we have the time. We literally played this calculated. I was a startup guy, always talking about runway. And so I was like, we got 6+ months. And every time I close another client, I was like, hey, we got 9 months now.
Yeah.
And we close another client and I was like, hey, we've got 12. But
It was amazing to like be a part of it growing in real time.
Yeah.
amazing, scary, stressful. So you said with your business, you put all your savings.
Yeah,
you
we're
put-
definitely not. We're not where y'all are yet.
No, we're not.
sure.
Definitely not.
We definitely watch our cash. But I will say, we leave all of our cash in the business, and so if shit did hit the fan, we would just draw out cash, and so we have an asset that has money in it that like will get us, and we have our like savings and our 401ks and all that kind of stuff. But we're not out of the weeds. We're in the zone of like we got to keep cranking it. But I just feel like it just keeps you going too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Okay, so there's something funny. This makes me think. There's some kid. I don't know who he is. He's like in his 20s and he's a billionaire. He's the youngest billionaire in the world. I forget what his name is. It's popped up on my LinkedIn feed, and there's an interview with him. The guy interviewing him was like, "So you're worth $1 billion?" And the kid's like, "I mean, on paper."
Yeah.
And he's like, "All my money is in assets, all of it."
Totally.
And he's like, "How much cash do you have?" He's like, "Dude, I think I have like $100,000. Elon Musk, like when he first started like Tesla and SpaceX, I remember seeing an interview with him like, "Hey, you're worth $1 billion." Like, yeah, it's all in the stock in these two companies. And there's something about being an entrepreneur where the people that you see spending a ton of money either are harvesting someone else's wealth, like multi-generational, or they've already built that asset base, which usually takes a lot longer than most people realize. What is your philosophy on like building assets versus spending money? Because we have a very clear philosophy on that in our life.
We do not have a clear. We're not clear. We run pretty loosey goosey. So we know, and I say this, but we just don't like go and like every month do a budget or like do anything like that. We know and have the conviction that the things that we are investing in terms of like our companies, where we're putting our time, our 401k, our things are going up. Like we're going up for sure. And I will randomly, I don't know, every 6 months I'll like do this analysis of the business and like all the stuff that we're at. And we're like, all right, we're sitting in like, if you look at like, if you look at our net worth, and it goes back to like,
I show her that
on
like,
paper.
I show her that she's like, "Okay, are you sure?" Like,
yeah, literally, like legitimately. And so on paper, if you look at our net worth and like, I don't know, one of us got deathly ill and we were like, all right, we got to go and like sell all of my toys and like the business or one of these random things. And we have tons of money.
that's
We're
what I
very-
literally tell her
very
the
fortunate.
exact same thing.
We're
And
very
as-
fortunate.
but it's important that to note, because this is one of those real things that I want people to take away. Like, we have more of a net worth than I ever thought we would at this point as well. But we do not feel like that in our day-to-day life.
No.
We
Yeah,
feel
that's
like
a
we
really
are
good point.
still grinding and building.
Yeah.
If I got deathly ill and had to stop working for a year, could we? Yes. Would I have to sell a bunch of stuff? Yes.
Yeah.
Could I retire forever? Probably not. I'm only 39. I don't think I could, unless we moved somewhere else. But like, I actually want to ask you about how you guys feel about this and wanting to pass this perspective on to your kids. Like, looking at what you guys have built, net worth versus like your lifestyle and cash flow. What are you learning about building for the long term that you want to make sure your kids take away from you guys?
I hope to pass on is just getting our kids trained to start working for our business and like the mindset of, okay, like this is what it is to run a business. This is what this means. And starting them off really young, working, knowing what, like money is, savings is, and like that this business is what gives them all of the nice things that they have.
Mm.
And so I hope that we can pass the business down that way, and would love the kids to like work in the warehouse and see what that's all about. I started working at a very young age. My mom was pretty much a single mom. And so she was always like hustling multiple jobs, and she kind of instilled that into me. And so I'm just like, I guess I've kind of always had that mentality. So I would like to pass that down to them too, that don't take anything for granted. You have to work hard for what you have. But one thing, I think the good thing about like me liking fancy, we don't have like a ton of fancy things. There's just smarter ways of living when you own a business.
I mean, that's
100%.
that's part of why we do our real estate
Totally.
business. It's
Yeah.
heavily tax advantaged way to build wealth for future
100%.
retirement.
I mean, that's like one of the key like benefits of owning a business. For
Yeah.
sure.
yeah, no, is
Totally.
having the ability to put more of your money to work post tax
Exactly.
than most people have to if they're a W-2 employee.
Yeah, they wouldn't even have the option for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we got to build on this thread because we have the not so fancy in our family, but we also have some, I think.
see you.
So
Yeah.
before we talk about, well, actually, let's talk about that. No, let's talk about that. So what, from your perspective, how has that evolved over time? And how do you feel like I have taken your feedback and suggestions on moving the goalpost a little bit? Because we're similar to you guys. We have a really hard time spending a lot of money on anything. I'm always looking for a deal. We buy used on, it looks like I have a nice car. That is a used 6-year-old car that I negotiated very, very hard on, and still feel like I overspent a little bit. And same thing with our house. We bought a house that was a little uncomfortable for me, a little bit above the budget I wanted to spend, but like negotiated it hard. And how have you? There's been a lot of tension between us. I'm going to be honest. We've gotten a lot of arguments about it, but I feel like we've started to find our stride. How has that evolved from your perspective?
Well, I'm the spender for sure. After we got married, we read the Dave Ramsey books. He was all in.
Yeah, yeah.
He was like,
That tracks.
yes,
Love it first
this
sight.
is
Yeah.
great. Yeah, like cash for everything. Don't go into any debt. And I was like, hold on a second. I just wasn't quite there yet. But over time, I think now we have a good balance. Like, I think, and I've learned over time, I used to think that he didn't want to spend money on anything. And I've realized now that like, he's fine with spending money on things. We need to do it with intention. And
It needs to be worth it. I don't like
Yes.
spending money on stuff that just kind of evaporates into thin air, or
Yeah.
the utility
Totally.
disappears quickly.
Yeah, I
you know?
mean, we still live way below our means, but we do like to splurge on some things like vacations
Totally.
for
Yeah,
us.
that's-
Family vacations, we splurge on big time.
Same.
But
yeah.
I realized this on our lap because we just got off vacation. We went on vacation 2 weeks ago. We still have this budgeting mindset. Like we went to the nice resort at Port Aransas, but we're like, hey, what are the meals that we can, these places, these condos have a kitchen. We don't get the big house. We get the 2-bedroom condo because our kids all end
they
up in
all
the
want
same
to
room
be with us
anyways.
anyway.
And it has a kitchen. And so we're like putting together, we're like, this is the max number of nights we're eating out. We're cooking at the house the rest of the time.
Y'all are maniacal in keeping track of that. We do not.
We probably could do better at
But
that.
I mean, but we do similar things. We're going, and we take really nice vacations too. We're going to Maine for 3 weeks,
Mhm.
and so like we do these like long stints where we go and get out and get like new experiences. We'll just have a cabin
Mhm.
in Maine, and it's nothing like crazy nice, and we'll do our typical dinners, and we'll go get curbside. We'll live in Maine like we live here. Like it's just nothing really changes. But we will obviously do fun things. And I'm going to
Mhm.
go sailing a lot, and we'll take the girls on, do random cruises.
It's a
and stuff.
matter of like what you want to invest your money in.
Totally.
Totally.
You know, and like right now, I think we're in a season of life where we want to invest on having experiences with our kids as they grow up.
Yes.
Like,
Yeah.
I want to get away with my kids so we can spend quality time together as a family. Like, that is worth the investment right
Well,
now.
we're also coming off the season of being trapped with
At home with
Yeah.
newborns.
newborns
for sure.
for
7
4
years.
years. I mean, well, let's call it like until Logan was our youngest was 1. So for 4.5 years,
Yeah.
we were
Mhm.
cranking out newborns.
Yeah.
No vacations except for going home to see our family in California, which is a far cry from a vacation.
Right.
And last year was the first year because Logan turned 3.
Yeah.
And
we went on
we
one
went on vacation and it was amazing. And we're like,
we can do this now.
I'm like, we're going
it
on
opened
7.
up a whole new world.
We're going on
Yeah.
7 this year.
Yeah.
Because it's pent up demand,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
Totally.
but what are you going back to the question about like what our entrepreneurial journey as a family and overcoming your fears, following me, seeing what's on the other side, going through the good times, the bad times, the trials, the tribulations, seeing what entrepreneurship can do for us and our family. What are you hoping that our kids learn from the fact that we're raising a family supported by small businesses?
I think that I want them to see that they are capable of doing out of the box things. I really don't want them to only have a mindset of, I need to go to school, go to college, and get a corporate job. If that's the journey that they choose for themselves, I'm fine with that. But I also want them to be able to think outside the box.
Isn't
And
that funny? The difference of thinking you as a mom has versus what your mom would have been thinking.
yes.
Oh,
My
dude.
mom
So
would have been
different.
thinking you should just go be a doctor or a lawyer.
Oh, absolutely.
She probably still thinks this to this day. You should go be a doctor or a lawyer.
Yeah.
Whenever you're in it and you see, it's funny because and I don't know how it was for y'all, but whenever I was growing up, I didn't really have a ton of access to true like entrepreneurs and business owners. Like I knew one, my like best friend growing up, Wes Osborne. His dad owned a construction company. I honestly met up with Justin Osborne, one of his kids, probably 2 months ago. And I told Justin, I was like, dude, I think your dad may have had he passed a couple years ago, bless him, but I was like, I think your dad had a pretty deep impact on me because I was at their house all the time and I would see him, how he operated. He was like the only entrepreneur that was in my life. And they had all the vacations they could ever want. They had such a cool life of going. I worked for this construction company a little bit, cleaning bricks as a 14-year-old. It was just such a cool life. Now that I think back, I mean, that was 25 years ago or something like that. Now that I think back, I'm like, I think he had like a deep down impact on me.
That's interesting because
it makes me think of that book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Have you read that?
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the whole thing is his poor dad, which was his actual dad, was a high up superintendent in the education system.
Yeah.
Hawaii. Had a really good salary, master's degree, I think maybe PhD, good benefits. And that's what he always told Robert to do. And his friend Mike's dad was the local entrepreneur. He had like 7 different businesses and was a real estate investor. And he was like, you should go to college, but not to go on the track that college pushes you towards. You should go to college just to learn the fundamentals of business, but then you should go start businesses. And he was like, you should go start and fail a bunch of businesses before you finally figure out how to do it. But there's something else that you're saying that I really hope for my kids. I wasn't around a lot of entrepreneurship either. My parents did run a small business, but it was not an entrepreneurial small business. I'm grateful for it because I learned a lot from them, but it was a dental office. My dad was the dentist. My mom was the hygienist. And I did it for 50 years. They just shut it down 2 months ago and my dad finally retired. I learned a lot about being a small business owner, but my dad was never trying to scale. It was not, he's not like looking for a new cutting edge way of doing dentistry, right? I was not around a lot of creative entrepreneurs either. I actually can't recall any from my childhood. And actually meeting my entrepreneurial father is a guy named Ron Merritt. He is a local entrepreneur in San Luis Obispo where I went to undergrad. And he scaled up this business back in the late 90s, early 2000s. He made a bunch of money and he was like a local resident, like part-time lecturer in the business school. He was starting a new business and looking for a part-time bookkeeper. And I found his ad on Facebook and I was his bookkeeper my 3rd and 4th year in business school. And he was like, dude, do not go to corporate America. Like he was just like, find a little widget, figure out how to sell it. And the funny thing is, that was my first e-com stint. He was selling this projector TV that he invented on his own website back in 2007.
Funny.
And he's the one who introduced me to Guardian Bikes. He was a mentor to Brian, the original founder of Guardian Bikes. And so it was really Ron. And at that time I was 20 and then getting into Guardian, just being straight startup mode where I was like introduced to this brand new world of entrepreneurship. And I was just addicted at that point. And I'm a rebel at heart too. I was like, I'm going to start a metal band. I'm going to freaking go on tour. So I got an accounting degree. Everyone else is going to work for CPA firms. I'm like, screw that. I'm going to work for equity and go on tour. But I just want my kids to see that they should pave their own path and that they should follow. Actually, Kyle Hensey in our 2nd episode talked about this. Like they should follow their energy. I just followed my energy. I was like, I want to be a rock star. I played guitar my whole life. I just started a band with a bunch of dudes drinking beer and doing stupid stuff. And we got signed to a record label. We just got together and wrote music and played shows and we got good and we got signed and we went on one tour, put out one record. We made no money. And I was like, I'm not doing this anymore. Like, this is not my living. But Guardian Bikes wanted to recruit me. And I was like, sure, I'll just follow the energy. And when that energy dissipated, I was like, I think I got this idea for this other business. And I just followed that energy and then encountered real estate investing. And I read 1,000 books for like a year and a half. And then I was like, I'm ready to do a deal, babe. Let's do it. And I just followed that energy. I want my kids to feel like that because I already see it in my 7-year-old. I don't think it's intentional, but I think the school system unintentionally teaches our kids to stay in a lane.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And I see it already in my 2nd grader that she feels like afraid to go out of the lane. And I'm like, girl, please get out of the lane and try something else. That's what I want my kids to take away from us being entrepreneurs.
I love that.
Okay. So 2 final questions as we land the plane here. I'm going to ask it to each of you. The first one is, we'll start with Bobbi. I'm sure there's people listening to this episode, dads who are like either in the middle of taking the leap and are afraid about their wife's perspective or are interested in taking the leap and are concerned about their wife's perspective. What is your piece of advice of what that guy listening to should talk to his wife about to get her comfortable?
I mean, I would say just be ready for like the what could go wrongs and believe in what you're selling, because that is what he does. Does such a good job at just, like he has so much passion in these ideas and he's very thoughtful. And whenever he's presenting the ideas to me, whether he like has sorted through the what could go wrongs or sorts through them in that moment.
Mostly doing it live.
Yeah, he does a really good job at just kind of like, he has such conviction in anything he's trying to sell me. And then I ultimately have faith that he can follow this journey and make it mean something eventually.
And honestly,
yeah,
if you can sell it to your wife, you can sell it to anybody.
Oh, yeah,
You're gonna have
exactly.
a successful
Good
business.
point.
It's like selling, if you can sell snow to an Eskimo, you can sell snow
Let's
to
go.
anybody, right?
If you can sell like instability to your wife, you're doing pretty good.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Let's go. What about for you? What's your advice to a guy who's an entrepreneur listening to this, who's thinking about talking to his wife to get her on board with some crazy idea he has?
I think be ready for the conversations about the what could go wrong, and all the what ifs, but also just, I think, be okay with giving her time to come around to it. So many of our businesses started after we talked about them at length over probably months. Even like with the real estate stuff. I mean, we talked about it for a long time. And then all of a sudden it was like,
Go
okay,
time.
let's do this. And it happened really quickly after that. But I would say just give her time to come around to it.
Yeah, I think I've learned to go, what scares you about this? Or like,
Yeah.
what are your questions?
Yeah, you're really great about that.
I don't think I ever get time though.
Definitely
he's
not.
like,
We operate
he's like
differently.
this. Yeah, he's like.
I already did this. I just need to get you on board.
Yeah, I appreciate that though, because I would love to have time, but
Yeah.
usually
Yeah.
it's like, I thought of this last night at 3 a.m. and I've thought about all of the things. So what do you think? And I'm
Been up
like,
all night.
The container's already on the way. I already
Yeah.
ordered it.
Yeah.
I already put the deposit down. I just want to make sure you're okay with it.
literally,
Before I
that
pay
is
the
exactly
70%.
how it goes. It's so, and then it's like, I'm having my coffee and he's like, okay, yeah, exactly. Like,
You're
we're doing
a way
this.
cooler wife than I am. I'm a slow burn, and he
But,
knows
you know,
it.
I think importantly, understanding, it's just important to understand your wife,
Yeah, who you're
especially
talking
in
to.
the season that you're in, because
Totally, yes.
it's changed depending on the season.
Yeah.
And it is just like pitching anything. I've had to raise a lot of money when I was at Guardian. You always try to anticipate the questions on the
Yes.
front end.
Yeah.
And you won't anticipate all of them, but if you put yourself in your audience's shoes, in this case, your wife, you're like, what do I know my wife's going to ask me about? Be prepared to talk about that ahead of time, you know, and do the thinking, because it's important. And the thing is, you do want to get your wife on board truly, because if you don't, and they just kind of concede to it, you're going to have that conversation
Yeah.
later when the
Absolutely.
tension keeps growing, which we've been imperfect on. There's been times when I went and you're like, hey, I thought this was going to go this way. And I'm like, yeah, I know this is what's happening. You're like, should we still be doing this? This is my plan. You know, and we're going through a tough transition right now with firing property manager in Mississippi. And I think my wife will be the first to tell you that she knew we should fire this property manager a long time ago. I had a sense, but it's complicated. Like, how do we execute on this?
Yeah.
And in hindsight, she was right and saw it first, but we're on the same page about making it through this hard transition. That's not very easy.
I think that's a good call. I mean, if you are kind of pitching this thing to, you know, your spouse, it's also really good. I will say I am thoughtful with planning out and looking at these things and looking at all the paths. And with that, it's also just good to be just a realist and be like, this could definitely fail.
Yeah.
Like, statistically, we're going to fail. Like, the likelihood is we fail. But my conviction, there's no freaking chance we're failing.
Yeah.
This thing is going to the freaking moon. But it is good to have, like, you know, some realism in the room, and she definitely brings that. Of, you know, we have other mouths to feed, and we have bills to pay, and we have, you know, all of this that we have to take care of.
2 donkeys, 2 chickens.
Yeah. So many mouths,
Yeah.
dude. And so I think that is one thing that, if it were up to me, and if it was just me, you know, back in my 20s, run and gun, do whatever, sail away, have a good time, don't, like, you know, just burn all the bridges. Right now, it's just a different way of thinking. It's a partnership at the end of the day.
Yeah.
If you have a business and you are, you know, building a business, you're not doing it alone. Like, they may not sit on the cap table, but you're definitely not doing it alone.
Only because of tax purposes.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, exactly right.
Strategically, who's on the cap table based on tax.
Exactly
Okay.
right.
So final question. This one's going to be a little bit sappy, but buckle up. What do you want to tell your husband in front of our audience about what he's done for you and your family by deciding to be an entrepreneur?
I would just say, yeah, just like, I really appreciate your drive and your passion for everything you do. And yeah, just like, I don't know, I feel like you set a really good example for me and the girls, and I feel like you're just so optimistic about all of what we're doing and what we're trying to create, and it sets a really good tone for our family and where we're going from here.
Mhm.
Nice. Is there just going to be tears
No,
on all episodes?
what do you have for your what do you have to say to your wife in front of our audience for how she's partnered with you in building your businesses?
Oh man. I mean, I just don't even think we would begin to be in any position where we are right now without you, you know? It just wouldn't like none of this would be. It just would be at all. And I also obviously we made two beautiful humans in there that are like is the light of my life, but you've made me a better human and made me a better
Aw,
human every
thanks,
single
babe.
day. So that's I would be a way crappier human if I was like, the same guy that I was whenever I was 25, you know? It's like,
Mhm.
it's really
Were you 25 when you guys met too?
close.
I was 25 when I met
Yeah.
Andrew, and I was a terrible human.
Maybe you're 27.
Yeah, 27.
26, 27.
Yeah, I would have been a mess. So
Yeah.
none of this would have been possible for sure.
Nice.
What do you got for me?
I guess I just want to say, I mean, I'm proud of you, but also just thank you for giving us a life full of adventure. I appreciate so much that we are doing things differently than the way that our parents did things. And I truly appreciate that we're able to show our kids firsthand what doing things differently looks like, and that they don't have to be boxed in to a career that they don't love, a life that they don't love. They can pick up and make changes and do what they're passionate about and make a life for themselves. And I just
Thanks, babe. Well, I'm thankful for you supporting me, and I'm thankful for how we've both changed. You made me softer, and I made you take bigger risks. And
Mhm.
but I always wanted to build businesses. You always wanted to have a family. You didn't necessarily want to build business. I didn't have a plan to build a family. I'm glad that we both got our way,
yeah.
and we have a couple of businesses and 3 amazing kids. It's the most insane thing I've ever done in my life, but it is a fruitful life, and I'm grateful for it. And so thank you both, ladies. I think this is like the perfect closing time.
Yeah,
The
'cause our
children are walking out the door.
kids have been like
Yeah.
just gone.
I know.
quiet.
And so
Yeah.
thank you guys both for
We
coming on.
definitely do not have a babysitter. They
Yeah.
are just running the
Emma's
house.
the
Emma's the
babysitter.
Yeah.
Hey, buddy.
She's okay.
Yes, in 1 second, buddy. But thank you both for doing the wives version of Dadrepreneurs.
Yeah. Thanks for
And
having us on.
We might try to convince you to come back.
Yeah.